Hello, it's Margaret, and this is Baa Baa the Pomeranian. In case you're wondering, he has a YouTube video where he eats a peanut. Fascinating. But now Baa Baa needs a haircut, so he doesn't show anymore, so we're going to do a pet-style haircut on him. And I'll start with one of his back feet. Okay, I've already trimmed his other 3 feet. I just left this one to show you. So basically you pick up the foot and you want to make it round. You cut to the toenails but not above, and then you just take it round. Just go around the foot like that. Then you're going to look at it from the front. Undo him so you can see it. So you see it's a little uneven. You can clean it up from the front. And then take a brush, brush this part up, look at it from the side so you get used to doing this. And this stuff that's sticking up, start kind of at the toenails and just bevel it back a bit. Make a nice round neat foot. Now he doesn't have great leg coat, so it may look a little choppy, but there's not too much you can do about it. It's better to leave more and not take so much off. Then on his hocks, just brush them up. I'm using a curved pair of scissors, which is okay. It's better to use straight, but they'll work too. Just cut straight up to the hawk. Just making him neat and clean. He's not going to a show. There you go. Now we're ready to trim the rest of him. So let's look at him and decide how we're going to trim him. Again, this is a pet trim, but pet trim kind of resembles a show trim. We're just not going to be as careful about it. So his back isn't so terribly long, and also this really red hair, when you start cutting it, it's going to look lighter underneath and look funny. So you try not to cut much, if anything, on the back. What really needs to be trimmed is all this really long stuff. He has a soft coat, and this stuff's really long. So we're going to use a comb, a good quality comb. The teeth aren't too close together. And of course a universal brush. And these 3 scissors. My Monk curved, my Davis straight shears, and my Simone. Don't know much about them. I got them on sale in Las Vegas. So these 3 shears, curved, a close together toothed thinner, and a long straight shear. I like to start at the base of the tail or around the anus, either way. Sometimes I start with the base of the tail. It has massive long hair here, and that's going to very much interfere with what his trim looks like on his rear. So I just pull this stuff up out of the way. Here's his tail. I'm cutting up like this towards his back. And we can take thinning shears later and make that look better. Sweetheart, behave. Okay, he's already had his anal area shaved with a 10 blade. So now when we comb this out, this stuff from above there isn't so much in our way. And you just go from the anus and you work out like that. Oh, still, sweetie, it's okay. Then we check the length of the pants. Make sure you can see those. We find the hock. Cut them down to the hock. Look at them from the side. Go straight down. Okay, that's choppy, but that gives you the basic idea. Then from there, this funky stuff. He has soft coat, by the way. This funky stuff coming out the side. Whenever possible, trim down in a downward motion. It'll just be better, and you don't want to go crosswise on this, although I have to admit sometimes I do that, but then I have to come back and smooth it out. So you can see he's looking better already, even just with this quick choppy job I've done here. I'm going to take my time and go over it and then show you what it looks like. Alright, so the rear is trimmed fairly well. I could go over it with thinning shears and smooth it a little, but I've taken more off the stem here because it was too full. I don't like to take the stem up too high. Some people take it way up here. Ooh, I don't like that look at all. And if it's a pet, you might want to do this little V between the legs. Because a show dog, you wouldn't do that. But for a pet dog, you know, they get their pants into stuff. You still want him to have a cute look. He's had his belly shaved, which makes it easier. And I've gone up quite a ways because little boys do tend to pee on themselves. Take some hair off the flank. Basically, what I do with a pet dog is I just want to trim this long stuff that hangs way down, including the ruff and the bib. It just hangs down really long. He's got that long soft coat, and just try to neaten him up. The same rule applies to the bib as if you've seen my show dog tape. You hold it up and you cut across. So you're cutting across. Then when you get to the part up here, that's when you start cutting up. So I'm going to do some more cutting on him and then just show you what he looks like. Oh, I'll just show you front leg. I'm going to be careful on the front leg not to cut too much off because they often have a cowlick right in here. Most dogs do, even other breeds. And if you take too much off, it's shorter and then the cowlick pulls it up and it looks really dumb. So I will trim him some more and show you how he turns out. Okay, so he's quite wide. And he's got a long bib here. So I want to take some out off the sides here. Take this off. Again, this is very much like a show trim, only we're just going shorter for practical reasons. Get up here, he's got all this long crazy stuff sticking out here. Take some of that off. We'll come back with the thinning shears later and smooth it out. So when you get up near his mouth, the ruff, the lower part of the ruff, it's always best to hold your scissors in this direction, and it's also a good idea to go over it with the thinning shears to take away any scissor marks. I've smoothed up his little rear end and taken some of this corner stuff off, so that leaves the tail. I don't usually leave pet tails too long unless the owner really likes them that way. So I find the end of his tail and I go up maybe an inch. Then we have all this stuff hanging down, so he'll cooperate right here. I just go ahead and take some of that off, and you can use a thinning shear there. That actually works pretty well. So use your thinning shear on that and just thin it out a bit. You can always use the thinning shears to come down here on both sides. If you're a little insecure about using the straight shear, the thinning shears are great for that. And then the tuck up here, we put our little V because this coat often is a different color than that. You can always use the thinners to come up and down this to make that blend a little better. Okay, now we're going to do his little ears, which can be difficult for people that aren't used to doing it. We want to take them from the pointed look to a nice curved look. So first I want to locate the leather, and I can do that by bringing my fingernails together. Once I find it, I'm going to take my little tiny scissors, which are less likely to chop his leather off, and very lightly start cutting. That way if I do run into the fleshy part of his ear leather, that I won't chop it off. See, I made a nice curve there. Okay, now we have Baa Baa's ruff. So I'm going to cut him back to about the length of his ear. Cut this up here like this. Give him a nice halo. He's got really soft hair. But his ruff was just out of control. So we're going to smooth this out a bit. The ear is kind of your guide. Especially with the pet, you don't want anything longer than the ear. So you just use that as a guide. He's sticking way out over here. We'll get some of that. So I'm going to go over him a bit with the thinning shears. Check his back to see if it's too long. Let's see. We'll take some of this stuff. It doesn't want to stand up, so it's not easy to do. It wants to flop down immediately, and it leaves cut marks, so we're going to have to come back with thinning shears on that. Try to make it look more natural. It's going every which way. Little thinning shear action on his chest. And even with thinning shears, you don't so much want to do across as up and down is better. You could do a cross down here, would be alright, but once you get near the ruff, you should always cut in this direction. Same with the area around the anus and under the tail. So this is a nice trim for a little pet Pomeranian. Here's Baa Baa. It's basically a show trim, but just shorter and easier to maintain.